and we promise to make it more interesting than energy usually is. Sometimes it's a yawn fest. We have some really good panelists with us today, and we're going to have an interesting discussion. You know, energy efficiency has certainly become a much bigger deal in the home building industry, and for more and more builders, it is simply a part of the new reality of doing business. Like I said, we have some great panelists today. Joyce Mason of Pardee Homes is joining us, and Pardee has really been a pioneer in green and energy efficiency building, and we're going to chat with Joyce about Pardee's Living Smart Home program, as well as water conservation and what Pardee is doing out in California with that, where that's a big issue. And Brad Wallace and Jason Spuler from Granite Ridge Builders have joined us. Granite Ridge Builders is a regional home builder in Indiana and also serving parts of Ohio and Michigan. And they're on track to build, I think, about 300 homes this year, and Granite Ridge has constructed a really cool net zero show home that displays all kinds of green and energy efficiency technologies, and they have some really dynamic marketing strategies, I think, that will pay off big for them. So I can't wait to hear what they have to offer, and I'm Steve Castle, editor of TecHome Builder, and I will do my best to be a good moderator here. What's going to happen in this webcast is we're going to preview some of the findings from our Energy Advantage survey conducted by our company's research arm, AE Analytics. And that was among home builders this year, and covering what energy-related technologies they're implementing in homes now and what they plan to do and implement in 2016, 2 years from now. And I think the findings may surprise you. We found that home builders are really looking at 13 areas of strong growth in energy and water-related home technologies. So we don't have time for deep dives into each, but we'll give you a peek at the findings that will be published in the Energy Advantage Special Report, which will be published on our website, TechHomeBuilder.com, for downloading starting on December 12th. I'll quickly cover some of the key results from the Energy Advantage survey and the special report, turn to our panelists for a discussion, and hopefully we'll have time to open it up for the audience for questions. Now, you can type in a question anytime you like in the lower part of your control panel, and if we don't get to your question today, we'll try to get back to you with an answer. All audience members except panelists are on mute. And this webcast is also being recorded and will be available for video replay on TechHomeBuilder.com in the next few days. So the new green home. Now I've been reporting and writing about energy efficiency and green technologies for about a decade now, and I've really seen it change. I've really seen the so-called green home evolve from what was once considered, really hippy-dippy and unpractical and too expensive to where home builders are using better building practices and employing building sciences to build really efficient, tight, well-insulated, well-air-sealed homes. And now some builders, I think some really savvy builders, are going beyond that to employ more and more water and energy-saving technologies, and to the point where I think they're really not so-called green homes anymore, quote-unquote green homes. They're high-performance homes, and they truly are high-performance. These are not dowdy Priuses of homes. They have a lot of technology, and they're really, in a sense, the Ferraris and BMWs of homes, especially in the higher end. And man, isn't that an easier sell than to say it's a green home or it's energy savings? It's a high-performance home, and they use less fuel than high-performance automobiles. And here's what I like. Most high-performance homes actually contain more technologies than cars, and that's not something that you hear about with homes and technology much these days. But is this a sound business opportunity? Well, let's take a look. I'm going to run through a quick market overview of some other studies that have been done. McGraw-Hill Construction last year did a study in which they found the green home market in general will grow from $36 billion in 2013 to a projected $85 to $103 billion by 2016, and that's a big jump. Some good news, more good news actually. The NAHB did a survey called What Homebuyers Really Want and found that homebuyers want Energy Star homes and Energy Star rated appliances, energy efficiency, more than other very popular features in homes. So much so that people want more and more energy management displays, and more people want programmable thermostats. And I find that really funny because before the days of smartphones, where now people can control the thermostats from their smartphones, nobody wanted to deal with their programmable thermostat, and nobody certainly wanted to program it. Very few people did, in fact. So things are changing very rapidly. The Consumer Electronics Association has found that 61% of households expect to purchase energy efficiency related home automation technology, or home automation technology really based on energy efficiency, and that's more than home security based automation and entertainment based automation, of which the Consumer Electronics Association is mostly made up of. There are a lot more security and entertainment interests there than there are energy efficiency and green interests. So I think that's really big news. And also, I think this is very interesting, 66, almost two-thirds of people are more likely to purchase home automation if it reduces their energy consumption. And so if you're a home builder and you're looking at home automation or connected home services, think about the selling point of bringing energy efficiency into that as well. In 2008, during the housing crash, a lot of home builders really found that they could differentiate their new homes from the glut of foreclosed cheap properties by building energy efficiency homes. And BDX, the Builder Digital Experience, that's funded by the 30 largest home builders, has found that 77% of new home buyers believe new homes are better for energy efficiency. They equate new homes with energy efficiency. So the home building industry has done a really great job, I think, of branding new homes as being energy efficient, and I think savvy home builders are now looking for other ways they can differentiate themselves from the pack, especially as more and more builders try to get into green building. So will we see an energy savings boom? As I mentioned earlier, our research arm, AE Analytics, conducted an Energy Advantage survey earlier this year. We looked at current practices and what home builders expect to put into their homes in terms of energy and water related technologies in the next 2 years. And let me just go back to this slide. It's not going to be all about solar. I think some of the findings may really surprise you. Just very, very quickly about our respondents, just to give you a sense of who was surveyed. We surveyed 285 home builders responded, and a vast majority, 92.5%, are in executive and general management. I think about 3/4 of them have direct control or oversight over energy purchases. And as you can see from the other figures here, pretty spread out among the disciplines in home building today. The earnings as well are pretty spread out, and I think mostly what you can expect. The biggest category is $10 million or more a year, and a slight majority are building up to 10 homes a year. I think that's to be expected too when you survey a good number of home builders, as we did, and pretty split about whether they will do remodeling or not. And where they are. The three biggest in our survey were Pacific Coast, South Central, including Texas, and South Atlantic, where a lot of the hot markets today are. So, key findings from the Energy Advantage survey. Builders, expect growth rates up to 144%, at least on energy management, which topped the list, kind of surprisingly, but on 13 different energy-related home technologies as well. 92% believe that energy-saving technologies will give them a competitive advantage in their markets. 78% expect higher per home revenues from energy technologies. And we were really encouraged by these numbers when we saw them. 72% expect more profit from energy technologies, and down below you see they expect steady growth in the portion of the total home sale prices that are attributed to energy technologies in the next several years. So I think that's a marker that they expect to see more and more of it in their homes. So what are the 13 areas that we found? This table shows the energy growth opportunities we've identified, from energy monitoring and management to solar to LED, motorized shading, smart and connected thermostats, automated ventilation systems, and on down. And it's interesting because this is a graph that we made ordered by the percentage of that change from 2014 to 2016 on average. And it's interesting that some of the technologies that are less well established, like energy monitoring, management, and geothermal, show these huge gains, whereas the really established technologies such as high efficacy heating and cooling, which is down below, and water savings, because they're already in so many homes, aren't going to grow greatly. And I think that's obviously to be expected. But that doesn't mean that there aren't growth opportunities there. Rather than rely on this percentage growth as we did in this chart, we really looked at the penetration gain from 2014 to 2016, and energy management again came out on top with a 25-point gain. And I think this is kind of fascinating, the whole tale of energy management and monitoring. We've been saying for years and years, not years and years now, but at least for several years, that energy management is going to take off and energy monitoring is going to take off, and it doesn't quite. And I think there's still there have been a few missing pieces in this, but more and more there's interest in it. And one of the interesting things is that just by having an energy monitoring device and seeing how much energy you use can save 10 to 15% on an energy bill, because people see it and they run around and they start shutting stuff off. Some of the missing piece has been, okay, can you take an energy monitoring system like this one from Savant Smart Monitor to the right and automate things to shut off? And that's starting to happen in this space. I think that's really exciting. So you can have circuit level and whole house management. The Savant Smart Meter on the right is a circuit level, so it can monitor every circuit in the house if you wanted to. And I think that's very useful for really drilling down and seeing what your house is using in electricity. And one of the big advantages of that is having diagnostics and being able to get alerts, say if a well pump is using too much energy, or a water heater, I think, is a good example. If it's using a lot of energy, it may be ready to fail, and it's good to get an alert from an energy monitoring system on that. I think in the future you'll see not only alerts, but possibly selling you more water heaters and things like that based on those diagnostics, or ordering up a maintenance check and having monitoring service handle that for homes. And that could be a recurring revenue opportunity for both home builders and vendors like custom integration companies as well. One of the big advantages of energy monitoring as well is to achieve a net zero status, meaning that the house consumes as much energy as it provides, or provides as much energy as people consume. But you can build a really green house and get it really close to net zero, and then people move in and they have this tendency to use things and use a lot of power. So being able, I think some builders are finding that being able to show people how much energy they're using is very powerful, and it can help them keep their energy costs low. And especially as California and other states move to net zero goals in the future, this is being really seriously looked at as a way to get past really strong building science practices that make a home green, and then maybe solar or alternative energy. And then I think the final piece to that is energy monitoring and management. LED lighting, another huge area. And this is really exciting because it's not just about energy efficiency anymore. It's about being long lasting. The costs have come down. Many of today's LEDs are dimmable, and you still have to be careful with that. It's good to work with an LED expert and a lighting designer, but the exciting thing is they're very programmable, and some are even programmable to change color temperature, meaning the quality of the light. From yellowish to blue, and they're really adept to it, being able to showcase art and architecture, and you can layer light with LEDs very effectively as well, meaning you can have different fixtures in a room, like a dining room, on at different intensities to highlight certain things and be dimmer in other areas, and really create lovely scenes with that. Smart and connected thermostats. This is a huge area, and kind of joked about this before with, now people suddenly want to program their thermostats if they have a smartphone. But smart and connected thermostats can also be new hubs of home control, and not just from the Nest revolution that's happened. Some of the big service providers offering connected home systems like Comcast are touting energy savings through connected thermostats. Comcast even works with a company called EcoFactor, which has cloud-based analytics that uses the connected thermostat as sort of a sensor in the house. And after a couple of weeks, they can figure out the performance of the thermal envelope of the home, and also how the HVAC system is performing, and then make really kind of minute changes by a half a degree or so on the thermostat according to outdoor temperature and other factors in the home and that thermal envelope and HVAC performance. So it doesn't affect the comfort of the people within the homes, but it can save them energy. They call this picking up nickels, and it adds up over a month. And they've done studies that show that you can save 17% or more with that. So I think that's a really unheralded technology that we're going to see a lot more of, and I think you're going to see more of these big data type plays, especially as utilities get involved and want to do demand response programs and maybe time of use programs, although time of use probably won't matter much to thermostats, but certainly demand response programs where they want to turn down air conditioners or other big users during peak load periods. And there's, I think really a powerful tie-in with security systems. So you can arm a security system and have the house basically go into a low energy mode throughout. So no more worrying if you left lights on or things like that. I think it's really exciting. Lighting control and automation, another area that has been considered only for millionaire homes up to now, and I think that's changing rapidly. I mean, this is about not just the convenience of shutting off all your lights from your bed or having the outdoor lights on timers so they turn on and off, but you create really beautiful scenes with this. Here's a picture on the right that really shows light being layered and being focused on certain things to create just really beautiful scenes. Energy savings, obviously, and we're seeing more affordable systems now. So we're not talking about five-figure systems anymore. We're talking about a few $100s to put switches and a few other things in, and companies like Lutron with its Caseta system and Savant with its smart lighting system are offering these systems, and you can really start them in only a couple of rooms and then possibly offer them as options to go into other rooms as well. And I think that will really turn a lot of people on to lighting control. tankless water heating and hybrid water heaters. A huge market and a lot of interest in this area. I'm not sure if I know, larger home builders who aren't offering tankless water heating, and we're seeing, both gas and electric and tankless apps from an electric tankless water heater called True Tankless, so people can actually control their tankless water heater via an app. And the hybrid water heaters using superheaters or heat pump technology to help heat the water. And I know GE's GeoSpring can also be tied to the grid and connected to the grid for load shedding as well. And Reem tells us that builders in Florida love their hybrid water heater because it can really lower their home energy rating system scores, and the lower the better. So other opportunities were found in this space, automated ventilation systems, which speak to healthy home systems, which moms really love. Solar PV power generation, really, really big with the leasing programs and being able to roll those into mortgages. A lot of builders will offer, basic 2 kilowatt systems and then sell a great percentage of upgrades because people then want more energy savings and can roll these into their mortgages. Motorized shading systems, people are realizing these can help with heating and cooling costs by having the shades go up or down at certain times of the day, or even be automated with solar sensors now. And that's very powerful. Solar thermal may remain a niche, but is strong in some areas. And if your area is right for it, for either water heating or even solar air thermal, it can be very powerful and in a lot of senses more bang for your buck than PV. Geothermal heating and cooling we expect to be big with MDUs and multifamily. It's more economical to do that, possibly in developments, housing developments as well. We know builders in both Texas and Oklahoma that are leasing the loop of geothermal systems and creating recurring revenue opportunities for themselves with that. So I'd like to call on our panelists now and give you a brief overview of what Pardee Homes is doing with its Living Smart program that has an Energy Smart component for reducing energy, Water Smart for water conservation, Earth Smart for resources and construct materials, and Health Smart for low VOC paints and other things to promote healthy air in the home. And Joyce from Pardee, can you speak a little bit about the Energy Smart features here and what you offer as standard versus options?
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. Great presentation so far. That's such interesting findings that are showing up all over the country. Our Living Smart program is a more or less a green building branded program that Pardee Homes began in 2001. And Pardee Homes is a production builder, so we're going to build roughly 1,100 homes this year. And so we needed to develop programs that we could use on a large-scale basis. And the Living Smart program sort of helps us identify the features of the home and where they might fall in the various sustainable categories. Energy Smart obviously is the heart of any green building program, and it is the thing that buyers care most about. It's the thing that we work hardest at providing. Almost everything you see on this slide is standard except for solar, which solar is standard in some areas and optional in others. So low E glass, obviously that is pretty much standard in every home built in the country today. But a lot of buyers coming out of older homes may not realize the difference that low emissivity glass can make. So we like to call that out as a feature to our buyers. High efficacy lighting, our California code does require a fair amount of high efficacy lighting, but Pardee has gone a step further, and while only 50% is required in the kitchen, and dimmers and motion detectors are required in other parts of the home, we have chosen to make high efficacy lighting standard. So in all recessed cans wherever they are in the home. I think the key to lighting, however, is not whether you use fluorescent or LEDs. LEDs, I think we all agree, is a higher quality of light. But the key to high efficacy lighting, in my opinion, is the color temperature of light. And I think it's important for people to keep in mind that most consumers are used to incandescent light, which is somewhere around 2,700 degrees Kelvin. So we work very hard to keep our color temperature under control at between 2,700 degrees and 3,000 degrees Kelvin, whether it's LED or CFL. And I think that that's a point that a lot of people miss. And when they go to the Home Depot or Lowe's to replace their light bulbs, they don't realize that the color temperature is going to matter. And you don't want to have a grid of recessed can lights in a room like a kitchen and have each light be a different color temperature. It's annoying.
That's an excellent point because people, I think, are the most sensitive to that. That is the most important thing to them is the color temperature.
Yeah, and you were so right about the wonder of LEDs. I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with LED light, and it's very exciting to see such huge improvements made in that lighting system that are able to get down to the average consumer level. So I think there's a lot to be learned going forward. We include radiant roof barrier as a standard feature. We take our buyers through our houses during construction. We like to point this out because this does such a good job of reflecting heat out of the attic. And of course, one of the things that's very important is your building envelope, and you want to keep that attic cool in areas of the country such as where we are, where the cooling loads are much more important than the heating loads for us. I mean, we need to manage the high desert temperatures that we experience in our markets.
Joyce, can I jump ahead? Joyce, can I just jump ahead a little bit here? You had mentioned that solar is standard in some communities and not. Is there a certain way you make that decision, or does it depend on how you feel your buyers are going to react to it?
It's definitely more of a consumer, trying to keep a finger on the pulse of the consumer. Now, with the advance of leasing, we have been able to include solar as well. It would be most likely to be considered a standard, but it's a leasing program in our lower price point homes. So leasing programs have advantages because they're very low cost to get into. You can put a large system, a large array on the roof, and then your leasing provider is also your utility provider in that case. So that's one way of doing solar. The other way, of course, is to own the system, and as you rightly pointed out, that gets added into the mortgage. And the other nice thing about owning a system is that you are entitled to the 30% tax credit at the federal level. And so in some of our homes, we'll include a low, a 2.0 or so kW system as a standard. Every buyer upgrades because they get the cost of the upgrade is pretty much offset by the tax credit that they're able to achieve when they upgrade their system. So, basically the cost of the system is included in the price of their home, the big cost, and then they add, $5,000 for an upgraded system. They're going to achieve nearly a net zero energy home, and they're going to be able to take 30% off of the entire cost of that system through the federal tax credit program.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's also talk about water and some of your water smart features, if you will. And I'm really, since you're in California and you experience drought a lot, and I know when I visited Party out there, you do a wonderful job with the drought tolerant landscaping and the xeriscaping. And are you also do you do any irrigation systems with that too?
We do. So we have nearly eliminated grass in the front yards of almost all of our homes. We build in Las Vegas as well as Southern California. Las Vegas had an ordinance very early on to remove grass and turf from front yards, so we complied with that. And we have also kind of moved to a situation where we provide the front yard landscaping. Now, in some cases, we're going to maintain it through an HOA. In other cases, we just provide it, and it's up to the homeowner to maintain it. When we provide that landscaping in the front yard, it's pretty much as you see here. It's very drought tolerant. These are, as you can see, almost desert landscaping here, and they will go with an irrigation system where every plant has a drip to its plant, and a smart controller will come with the house. So the irrigation smart controller, of course, helps to, it has rain sensor on it, and it will not water when it rains outside. It's much more easy to program. You program it according to the type of landscape you have, and that is standard in our homes now, and a smart irrigation controller and drought-tolerant landscaping. The only place where we don't necessarily include it in the price of the home is at the higher-end homes. Our home prices are going to vary from kind of mid-200s all the way up to $2 million and up. And higher price point homes, we find that consumer wants to do their own. So what we've developed are guidelines for drought-tolerant landscape palettes that go along with those homes, and we like to encourage people to use those palettes so we have a nice cohesive neighborhood. But in our lower price point homes, we're going to provide landscape, and most of the time it will be up to the homeowner to maintain it.
Joyce, just one more question before
Sure.
I go to our other panelists on this. Are you finding with the Energy Smart and the Water Smart features, or some of the other energy or water-related features that you have with homes, more interest in certain areas, and are you considering changing some things that are options to standard now?
You know, we've moved things around between options and standards all the time. So your point about tankless hot water heaters earlier on, we have moved that to a standard in some neighborhoods, partly to meet stricter energy codes, because the tankless hot water heater really gives you a very good bump in points for the stricter codes. But one thing to remember with tankless hot water heaters, which we are all so well aware of, is it's an excellent energy saver, but it is not a water saver. So you really have to pair that system in a drought area. You have to pair that system with a recirculating pump and an on-demand system, because if you're going to add a recirculating pump to a hot water heater, now you've just taken away the energy efficiencies of the hot water heater. Now you're making it work 24 hours. So you've got to have the on-demand system that goes with it, so that recirculating pump also doesn't work 24/7.
That's a great point.
I think that the water heater is something that buyers really love. They love the idea of having continuous hot water and almost having an endless supply of it. So that's something consumers really, really like. So we're starting to see that move into more of the standard realm.
That's awesome.
And of course,
thank you, Joe.
And the irrigation controllers, drought-tolerant landscaping, those have moved into the standard realm as well. Everything you see here in this image, everything here is standard. We're 1.28 gallons per flush in all of the toilets in all of our homes. So, and WaterSense faucets and fixtures. So we really have focused on water. It is, in my opinion, the currency of home ownership and savings on money savings in home ownership in today's market in the West.
Any thoughts on moving to gray water systems or offering that as an option at some point?
You know, we're studying gray water systems now, and they've definitely improved. They've made huge improvements in gray water systems. How that will apply in a production setting, we just have to do the research and figure out what systems might be the best for us to use. We certainly use gray water systems in our master plans, so all of our master plans are plumbed for recycled, not gray water, but recycled water. So we're using, as we call it, purple pipes all over the common areas in the master plan. So we have done that, and we've done a lot of work in master plans in drought-tolerant and native plant material on hillsides, where before we always did ornamental planting, so because we thought people wanted it to be pretty. But what we realized is it's great to be pretty, but you can also be pretty with native plant material as well. So we've made some big changes in how we do things ourselves.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very much, and stay with us because we want to come back to you. And this slide that we're showing now is part of what Party shows to educate people on this. This is in garages, right?
This particular one happens to be in a bedroom, and so we color code the walls so they correspond with that brand that you saw in the first slide. So each wall has a different topic. So you're looking at what will be a closet in that bedroom, and that's our literally our water closet. In this green room.
And this is a great segue into our other panelists, Granite Ridge Builders, which, as I mentioned earlier, has built what it calls a Next Step Home, which is a net zero show home. The photo center on the bottom is just the barn, I believe, that shows some solar. But, beautiful job with this. And way too many features and technologies for me to list on a slide. But certainly, some of the things I picked out were automated lightings and blinds and security powers down the house, as we talked a little bit. It's got solar and geothermal and solar thermal, and what Brad Wallace and Jason at Granite Ridge Builders are talking about doing too is, having parties at these houses. And I'll let Brad and Jason speak to that a little bit. Give us a brief overview, if you can, of what you've done with the Next Step Home, and let's talk about some of these marketing parties that you've had there.
Well, basically, this is Jason, by the way. What we wanted to set out to do with the Next Step House was to really educate everybody in the Midwest here, because we don't do a whole lot of anything with solar in our area because nobody thought it was possible. And then also the water savings and things of that sort, nobody really pays much attention to that out here because they haven't been educated on it. So we wanted to build a home that really encompassed everything and made a house not look like something from the Jetsons, and truly have a house that was fit into the landscape of our normal. And so we produced this house. It's approximately 6,000 square foot, 2 levels. And with the idea of how are we going to market this and how are we going to educate the people as they come through. And so one of the ideas that's worked very well, we actually have it scheduled out for 10 parties already. And these parties are anything from, we've had multiple luncheons with bakers. They'll have a banker luncheon there. The first 30 minutes of the luncheon is a brief overview of the home, some key element points that they might be interested in, whether it's how we insulated the home, how the solar works, how the full home automation works, the powering down of the whole home. That's great to show from a one-button click and the whole house goes dead type scenarios. So we go over all that in approximately 30 minutes, let them have their luncheon, their meeting, and then open it up for questions and things like that for afterwards. And the first couple that we've done, people have actually stuck around for approximately 3 hours, touring the home, getting more information, educating themselves on all aspects of the home. We also made it a self-guided tour if they wanted it, so they could walk around. This relates more to the parties. So during the parties and things like that, when there isn't somebody to really walk them around, we've incorporated iPads embedded into all the walls that are basically living signage that have videos embedded into them and things like that, so they can learn about all the aspects of the home throughout it.
And I think you're getting a lot of responses of, gee, I didn't think this was possible, or wow, this, stuff really works, and what other kinds of feedback are you getting?
Well, one of the really cool things is the solar aspect in our area. It's been around obviously for a while, but to actually show on a really cloudy day that we have right now in our wonderful 28-degree day, that we're producing both hot water and power enough that the meter's spinning backwards right now in the home without any issues. I'm going to turn it over to Brad. He has more stats and all that.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Steve, for having us on. With the Next Step House, with the solar, I was actually out there this morning, and like Jason said, it's a cloudy day, and when I walked up, first thing I always do is check the meter, and we were actually producing enough power to send it back to the grid. And we're using a net metering type of a meter where if we need more power in the house, it pulls off the grid. But if our solar collectors are producing more, it pushes it back into the grid for a credit. So it's kind of like a buffer. And we'll hopefully at the end of the month that it balances out and we have our net zero usage on electricity. Pardon me, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, and I wanted to ask this for the panel, because we've got Joyce from Part E, and I think Part E really takes a very practical approach to green living and being smart with energy and water, and that's not to say what Granite Ridge Builder is doing is impractical, because I think this is the future of what homes are going to look like. And I know you built this show home with all this technology that you wouldn't normally put into a house, but my question is, what is getting to, say, a net zero house? Do you think it's a reality? And is it really going to be practical? And how soon will this become more normalized, do you think?
Well, I think it's going to be a reality. The thing of it is right now, to get to that point, it's going to be expensive, and somebody has to pay for that, and as a result, it's going to be the end consumer is going to have to eventually pay for this. But we actually, one of the best things you can do to a house is insulate it really well, seal it up so you don't have any air leaks, and put energy efficient appliances and lighting into it. And when you do that, it's amazing. We got this house down to a HERS rating of 24 if you take the solar out and the solar thermal. So without having that big expense in there, we still have a HERS rating of 24. Now we've spent a little more money on insulating it. We actually used a foam on the outside of the house and did a continuous insulation all the way around the house and all the way around the basement wall on the outside with about 2.5 inches of a dowel foam, and then sealed it up, and then used something that's called Eco Seal, where you go in between all the studs and you actually seal between the studs. And then we did some spray foam on the cavities of the stud cavities. So we ended up with a super tight house that will not leak any air. And normally when that happens, the next thing out of everybody's mouth is, well, how do you get fresh air into the home? So we actually use an ERV unit to constantly, it works off of 45 watts of power. It constantly brings in fresh air from the outside, goes through a heat exchanger or an energy exchanger, could be cool or heat, and takes that heat or cool out of the air that's leaving the house and puts it back into the fresh air coming into the house. So we have a healthy house at the same time, plus it's tight.
Awesome. Well, I know we're kind of running out of time here, and I'd like to open it up for a couple questions. Jillian, do you know if we have any?
We do. The first question is, for a firm wanting to ease into the market, what would be the best energy niche to target?
Ooh, great question.
I think that, this is Joyce speaking, I think that the first step in any energy program is to look at your building envelope, as was just said. You might not have to go as far as sealing between every single stud. On the other hand, I think you have to look at your building envelope, make sure you've got as much insulation as you can put in there, and you do have to seal the exterior walls for sure. You have to seal where the power lines are coming in, where the cables are going, where the plumbing chases are. You have to seal all of that. So I think looking at your envelope, your building envelope, is the very first thing to do. And then after that, there's some pretty simple things. Energy Star appliances and high efficacy lighting are pretty simple things to put into your home to get your energy use down and manageable. I think one comment I wanted to make from the earlier question that you asked about zero energy homes is, in the end, Steve, the key to energy efficiency is the person who lives in the house. And the energy management systems such as Granite Bay is showing here and you've shown in your earlier slides, that is, I think, what's going to drive low energy use as much as any of the technologies that we're talking about today.
Great. Do we have time for another question or two?
I think we do. This one's for you, Joyce, it sounds like. How are buyers accepting the desert look of the landscaping? And is there some sort of ground cover that will prevent the dust problems?
That's a very good question, because we're all having to learn to love the beauty of native plant material. And it's been a bit of a learning curve. I think in some of our earlier efforts, our plant material was too small. So I think one of the things that has helped us is choosing slightly larger plant material that is going to cover a little bit faster. And that will help keep the dust down, and that also helps get the prettier look of the ground cover going forward. I think the native habitat landscaping, you just have to check your local area and almost go to your local nursery to see what is thriving in your area, because really you get down to microclimates in some areas. We have one area where we build in LA County where we get down below freezing many days in the winter, and we're in the 106 to 110 range in the summer, and very little rain. Our rain all comes at once. So it's a very hard climate to manage in terms of landscape. But we're also making fair use of artificial turf. And so we showcase artificial turf in a lot of our backyards, not so much in the front yards, but in the backyards.
Awesome.
Nice.
Can we do one more?
Okay. Our next question is, does the radiant roof barrier affect the roofing material warranty?
Not at all. Not at all. Most of the time, you're going to put a plywood. You're going to put plywood up on the roof before you put the roofing material on, and instead of using that, use the radiant roof barrier. It's just a foil. Basically, it looks like a foil covering on plywood, and it works perfectly, and doesn't cost you very much either. Very low cost, high efficient item.
Great. Anything else?
I think that's all we have time for.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and happy holidays. I know it's a little early, but we won't have another webcast until January. So from everyone at TecHome Builder and our panelists and AE Ventures, please have a safe and wonderful holidays with your friends and families. Don't forget that our Energy Advantage report will be available for download for free on the TecHome Builder website starting December 12th. And you can consider that a Christmas present. And don't be afraid to follow us on Twitter at TecHome Builder. And on Thursdays at 4, including today, you can use the hashtag TecHomeTalk and join our Twitter chat. Today's topic is on the family room, so which I think is appropriate for the holidays. So thank you all, and safe travels and festivities to you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Steve.
And thank you, Joyce and Brad and Jason.
Thank you, Steve.
Right.
Thank you.